guys, we're Santa Teresita team here. We're on the steps of our youth center, right in front of the chapel, you can see. And we're doing episode number 2 of Ministry Minutes. And this time we're going to do an activity that we've started doing with the last few confirmation retreats we had this year and last year as well. And these questions, we really did fall in love with them because they really get you thinking about how would you approach Jesus if in these scenarios. And so we'll get to them in just a little bit. But first, we want to do a little bit of fun questions. And so I believe, Sam, you got those?
I do. So the first one is, why is it that when you're driving and looking for an address, you turn down the radio? I feel like this is something that everybody does, but nobody knows why. Like, hearing has nothing to do with seeing, at least not that I know. If it does, please prove me wrong in the comments or something. But
I think I shared this with you guys when I was little and we were driving through LA or something, and my mom would turn around and tell me and my sister, shh, be quiet. Your dad's gonna get through the traffic, but we all need to be quiet. And then my mom's like, I'll turn the radio off, and she'll turn the radio off. And so we're all quiet. So now every time that we drive through LA, I have to remember to be quiet. And now that I'm married, I'll drive through it. I'll tell my husband, shh, concentrate.
I think it's something that people just inherently do. Like, if you need to focus in the car, you have to turn everything down. So
Yeah,
maybe it's about focusing.
I think it is about focusing. You can't just, I don't know.
Most of the time,
most of the time you're rocking out to your favorite songs.
Listen, focus.
Yeah.
Yeah, multitask.
Apparently not.
I hope if you're driving, you can multitask a little bit.
Okay,
next one?
Janessa has the next one.
How do you know which armrest is yours in a movie theater? That's easy, both, because I don't sit by anyone. I make
Especially
sure to be
now.
as separate from everybody as possible, so I get both armrests. One for the snacks, one for the drinks, and then...
I am right-hand dominant, so I automatically always lean to the right. So I try and sit next to somebody who's also right-hand dominant, or get like the biggest little recliner seat. That way I can put it, and I don't have to worry about anybody being in my space.
Oh, I don't. The last time I went, I booked 2 so that nobody would be next to me. So you can guarantee.
That's right, because you can book them now. Yeah. Well, with me, and we'll talk about multitasking. I'm watching the movie, and if I have friends on both sides or whatnot, I'm from the corner of my eyes, I can see whether their arms are on the armrest or not. As soon as one of them takes their arm off, I immediately put my arm. I claim the spot, and it's not like they're going to elbow me to knock it off.
So you're the scavenger.
Yeah, I'm the scavenger. I just jump on the opportunity as soon as
For me, I go to the movie with my husband, and so it's just a tendency that I sit on the right and he sits on the left. It's always like that. So I'll be like, sacrifice yourself. You know?
I prefer both.
Both armrests.
They're like, they're both mine.
They're both mine.
Man.
And I usually sit in the middle between my family, so they already know.
That's awesome.
The last question. What hair color do they put on the driver's license of a bald man?
I said N.A.
Yeah,
Like, he doesn't have hair.
not available.
But what if he grows hair later?
Then
he would have to go up
to be determined.
Or what if it's like tiny stubble? Like it's there, but it's not enough to like have
You
a
should be able to
definitive
see
color.
the color, right? And then I said, like, what if they just match it off of his eyebrows? And then they got all crazy. Like,
He doesn't have
what if it's
eyebrows.
not the same? Yeah, or he doesn't have eyebrows.
Some people's eyebrow colors are not the same as their hair color.
So, I don't know. But that's
Racism.
I would say non-applicable.
So now we're getting to the actual reflection questions that we do in our confirmation retreats. We mix our reflection questions with different activities. When we did this with our students, we would have a big poster all along the wall of the room, and we'd have the students kind of just write the answers to these questions right on the poster itself, and then we would get into a group discussion and all that. So a lot of really great conversations came out of it, and so we wanted to answer these ourselves, and then from my understanding, some of us remember some of the student answers, and so we'll share some of those as well.
We did this activity because we wanted our students that come through for the retreats to just kind of really think outside the box as far as what is God calling you, how is he calling you to serve. And so with that, we started to talk about it amongst ourselves even before we presented these questions to our students. And we thought, like, hey, those are really tough questions and things that you, not that we were trying to make it hard for them, but that really made you think about your answers. Not just say, yes, I'll follow Christ, but, oh, wow, yeah, he's asking more of me than just to say yes, you know, like some action. So this was definitely one of my favorite activities this confirmation season.
If you could spend one day with Jesus, what would your day look like? I think I would really want to kind of follow his lead and just be like, what do you want to do? Like, where do you want to go? I wouldn't want to try to, I'm big on like, hey, like, let's have our day planned, but having an opportunity to spend with Jesus the whole day, I would really want to know what, like, where he would want to go in today's age. Would he go, you know, to the more populated part of town? Would he go to a fancy restaurant, or just like grab a $1 burger and sit on a park bench somewhere?
If I had the day with Jesus, I want him to do all my favorite things with me, so that he can experience all the things I love. And, you know, we would like go to get yogurt, and we would watch my favorite shows, and we would go to an office supply store because I love office supplies. I showed him which ones are the best pins to buy. And then we would end the night with the dinner, and it would be spaghetti, because spaghetti is my favorite.
I do all the things I hate.
They'd be more enjoyable with Jesus.
The next time I do it, I'm like, hey, I did this with Jesus. Like washing
That's a good
dishes.
one.
And he can help me too. I hate washing dishes. He'd be like, hey,
You're gonna make
help me
Jesus
out.
wash dishes?
If it were me, I would definitely want to grab coffee with Jesus. Like, I just want to like chit chat, and I think we would have to go somewhere. Because what if he's not a coffee drinker? Like, maybe he likes tea, or maybe he just likes water. So we'd go somewhere with options. Maybe he's a smoothie guy. I don't know. And then I think I would just want to like talk with him, and we did talk a little bit about these like the last time we did this, and so I said like, being somebody who's always like struggled with their own self-image or things like that, I would just want to be like, what do you genuinely think about me, Jesus? It's not because like I like question it or doubt it or whatever, but it's like when you have a really good relationship with your parents, like, you know that they love you, but knowing that they love you and hearing that they love you, or hearing that they're proud of you, like, those are two different things. So I think hearing it like straight from Jesus, like, that would give it an entirely different meaning, and it would just be like really hitting it home and just got me, you know, in the feels.
If Jesus asked you to pick 12 new disciples that have lived during your lifetime, who would they be?
You know, the kids, we're talking about the students.
Oh, yeah.
When we asked them this question, a lot of them picked real famous people. And, you know, people that you wouldn't think, like, they picked Kobe Bryant, or even like Kim Kardashian, and they picked all of these people, right? And when we asked them, because, you know, we thought some of the choices were, you know,
Interesting.
Interesting. We asked them why, and they said that they picked them because they have a platform. So there was something they needed to get across, like a message for the Lord. They have a platform that they could use to do that. And I was like surprised that that's what they were like referring to. So I thought that was really interesting.
When I think of that question, I think of like Jesus's actual approach to choosing the disciples he wanted. And he didn't choose the most influential, oddly enough. Like, so I always found that kind of awkward. Like, you'd think if he knows what he's here for and what he wants to do and all that, he would have chosen like the most influential, the powerful, or whatnot. But he chose people who would be considered nobodies. And so I would, if he would trust me with something like that, I would try to almost mimic that approach a little bit, and try to pick people who maybe are not the most influential. But I wouldn't even know where to start. I would really try to just trust that, you know, God's gonna guide you to the right people.
If you could change one thing / event that happened in your life, would you? And what would it be? I don't think I would, because I learned from it. Like, it shaped me into who I am. You know, the losses and the heartaches that I've had to go through, like, it taught me something. And, you know, for those of you guys who have been here before, you guys might already know, like, I've lost both my parents. I've learned something from each one of the situations that brought about their deaths, and I grew from it. There was just growth. Like, it was just something that I don't think I would change. Like, of course I would give anything to get my parents back, but the things that I've learned from them, like if I didn't go through those things, I don't think I ever would have learned them, or it would have taken me a lot longer to learn them. So I think I would have to say no.
I would also say no. While I wish I would have done many things different, I don't think I would be the person I am if I hadn't gone through that journey. And what I think, I look back and think about it is, you know, one of the things that the Catholic Catechism tells us is that God tells us that He's with us during good times and bad times, and even when we don't feel Him, He's there. So looking back in those moments that were tough and I felt alone, I know that I didn't make it by myself. You know, I made it with God there. So I don't think I would take that away, that experience, even though some of them were real tough.
If Jesus asked you to be the leader of his church / people, like he asked Peter, what would your answer be? I still don't have an answer for this one. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what I would say. I feel like I would have to think about it a lot. It's a big decision.
Not that like I wouldn't trust that like God knew like what He was doing, but I think so differently from everybody else, and I overthink and I overanalyze and I have to ask everybody's opinion, and I think it would be really hard for me to get things done. And I have always said that I'm a much better follower than I am a leader. So unless Jesus came to me and was like, dude, you gotta do this, and if you don't do it, nobody else is gonna do it, I think I would like hesitate. Like if it was like a job opportunity and it was like, hey, I was thinking about you for this. Like, how do you feel about that? Then I'd be like, I don't know, Jesus. Maybe pick somebody else.
I think I would do it. I just would feel like a failure because I wouldn't know what I'm doing. But it kind of reminds me of Peter, and I don't know if he knew exactly what he was doing and just trusting God to do it. But one thing that I think I mentioned to you guys before is that I think anybody who or if you put yourself in the follower group, like Sam saying, like a person who serves the ministry rather than maybe be like the lead person. I think that anybody can be a leader, but I think it's really hard for people who are in a leading position to sometimes be in service. And I think that's where we need to realize that if we are called to lead, that does not take you away from your actual service to everybody. It's just you're up at the front doing the biggest example of how to serve others. So it's a tough question.
This question obviously reminds us of Peter and how he answered with the yes. And, you know, with his profile before that, you know, he denied Jesus and, you know, he struggled with certain miracles and all this stuff. And so out of all the disciples, some people wouldn't have even considered him as the guy to
the first choice.
Yeah, as the first choice, you know. And yet Peter just rolled with it and he said, yeah. And so you just got to trust that God would be there with you in that journey.
It's the flaws in our humanity that maybe make us adequate to lead, because how can, and maybe that's what Jesus saw in Peter was that you've struggled, you've been broken, you connect with other people. If you went back in time to the day before Jesus was crucified, would you try to stop it, or would you only bear witness?
Well, why don't we start with the kids' answers?
I remember some of them saying that they would stop it because they didn't think it was fair for Jesus to be crucified for their sins or for the things they decided to do.
I talked to some of the kids that said that they would not stop it, not because, you know, they wanted to see Jesus suffer, but because that was the whole plan. Like, that was the whole point of him going and being there. And so, like, they knew that, you know, by stopping it, if they, you know, could get everything stopped, that would alter the timeline, so to speak. You know, that would change the outcome of so many different things. And so they said they didn't know if they would want that because, you know, knowing that Jesus died for their sins was a really big thing to them. And they were so, I think whether it was yes or no, they were so adamant, like that was the right thing to do. There was no in between. There was no indifference. Like every kid, like this is why I would have done X, Y, and Z.
I agree with both kids. The person in me that knows that Christ came for a mission, like he came to save us all, knows that we have to just let it happen and bear witness so that we can tell others of the good news and of him saving us. But loving Jesus the way I do, I don't want anybody to even like scratch him, you know.
Right.
So watching it would be the most difficult thing I would probably ever have to do, and I can only imagine Mary, you know.
I know.
Watching her son suffer like that. And so when we talk about the Christ being crucified, it really makes me, especially now that we just passed Lent, it really makes me realize, like, you know, someone died for you, and for you not to go out and say that we've been saved and that we are loved and that we must do good to others breaks my heart, because he suffered so horribly. So I feel like I couldn't say one or the other, because part of me wants to save him because I love him, and part of me knows that he's doing this to save me because he loves me. So it's like we love each other, and we want to make sure that, you know, we're both okay.
If you could switch lives with anyone in the Bible, who would it be and why? I would choose the lady that bled forever.
Oh, that reached
yes.
out and
I think her
that
name's
reached out
Veronica.
and touched Jesus.
Probably Adam.
Yeah?
Yeah, why?
Stop Eve, smack that. Stop.
Don't eat that.
I would like to be one of the disciples, but like one of the ones that just named at the beginning, but you never really hear from them again. Like one of those guys, because I would like to like be in those dinner tables or around the fire pit or wherever they hung out, because they did a lot of, besides like what we hear and see in the biblical events. They obviously hung out a lot more, you know. What happened when, how was their sleeping arrangements, you know, when they would go from town to town, and I felt like they had this small, you know, close group kind of friendship and community between them, and I would love to experience that, especially with Jesus being, you know, in our midst, like physically there. Yeah. But again, I wouldn't want to be like Peter, because he struggles with stuff, or like any of the other ones, because they struggle with stuff. But I don't know, there's
More of the low, like the quieter
ones. Yeah.
disciples.
Yeah.
I would like to switch lives with Saint Joseph, because there's not a lot much said about him in the Bible, but I love the way he committed to saying yes to Christ. And while his person isn't like, you know, we don't hear a lot of stories, we know he did so much, right? And so that's who I would want to. Someone also more quiet and in the background, but just as present as anybody else. So I would like to switch lives with Joseph for a little bit.
I would like to switch lives with Jonah, just because Crystal always says that I'm like Jonah, because I sometimes don't want to do things, but I always answer with I suppose. And I do them because that's my job, you know. But I think I would, just to know, like, this is what God had called me to do. And of course, I don't think I'm the only one that would say, like, I would be scared out of my pants. Like, I would be like, I don't know if I could do this. And just to know that he took the long scenic route to get there, but eventually he did get there, and he did it. And to know that he did what God asked him to do, but was still like so unhappy with the way everything played out, and just didn't feel appreciated and things like that, because I felt that way in my own ministry. But I think, Alfredo, you and I also said that we would possibly be the woman accused.
Woman accused.
Just to know that, like, God truly did see, like, all the shady, sketchy things in her life, and still was like, I don't hate you, I don't condemn you, like, just do better and like be better, try to do better, and just go.
Still worthy.
Yeah, she was worthy. She still received that forgiveness,
that grace,
and that grace. Yeah, and just to know that we got that, you know, talking about all the Catholic guilt and everything.
Some of the students picked more of the people who had bigger roles. So
traditional
some of them
characters,
said Mary, and some of them said I think one or two students said Jesus. A few of them said Peter. Some of them said Adam.
Yeah.
And so
a couple of them did say John.
John,
right.
yeah. And and so that was interesting that they were so, I want to say, brave to want to experience that life. So that was really great, which actually I'm going to go back a little bit. And if I had to pick 12 disciples, I would probably pick some of these young people because they're just ready to go. And they're brave and they're courageous. Well, I feel more like, whoa. Like, let's slow down, you know, and more cautious. And I just admire how, like, ready they are to just go and move forward and do things and change the world. So
That's true.
All right, guys, thanks for joining us during this activity. This is one of many activities we do during our retreats. Feel free to use the same questions, switch them up based on whatever theme you're doing for the night or whatever theme you're doing for retreat. If you want some help, we would be more than happy to send that out to you. If you have any questions, you can always put those in the comments or send us a private message. We'd be more than happy to kind of go back and forth and put this together. Other than that, thank you for joining us from the steps of Santa Teresita. We will take the time in the future episodes to show you other places as well. And so this concludes episode 2. Thank you.
See you guys.
Bye.